Good evening. I'm Spot On Weather Meteorologist Matthew Euler, and today we're going to do a special video segment. It's basically going to be on what causes a snow to come in February. And one of the little systems that is responsible for this across the Mid-Atlantic happens to be something known as an Alberta Clipper. And this type of little storm system, it originates in Alberta province of Canada, and it basically will transit southeast from Canada across the Midwest all the way down off the Mid-Atlantic coast. And usually it'll basically exit the coast just south of our area over North Carolina. And to the northern side of that is where you have the colder air and the snow. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts that lead to this type of weather event. All right, so we're going to start off at 30,000 feet above the ground at the 300 millibar level. And what you'll notice is an area of higher wind speed. That's indicated by the yellow. You see the legend at the bottom here of 120 to 140 knot wind speeds within the main jet axis. And you can see that yellow area extending from eastern Wyoming into Nebraska, northern Missouri, all the way down into the Mid-Atlantic area into Virginia. Now, what else you have going on is you have this stronger shot of colder air from the north, from the far north from polar areas. So you got colder air that's coming down into a trough in the northern phase, the northern branch of the jet stream. So the combination of this jet stream maximum and the dynamics involved with it, resulting in increasing clouds and precipitation, in addition to the cold air coming down from Canada, generally lead to these type of little winter systems. So this is what it looks like at the jet stream level. You have a lot of jet stream energy by these jet speed maximums, and then you have colder air coming down from the north. All right, now at 500 millibar, I briefly mentioned this in the last winter snowstorm video, one of the videos. I talked about vorticity. 500 millibars, that's 18,000 feet above the ground. And what we look for are the yellows and the oranges. We want yellows and oranges. Wherever you see yellows and oranges or reds, those are higher positive vorticity values. And whenever you have higher positive vorticity values, you generally have accelerated rising motion in the atmosphere. And when you have faster rising motion, then you typically get the development of clouds as well as some form of precipitation that falls out of the clouds. So at this time on this chart, we have a little bit of vorticity, positive vorticity that's developing over the northern plains and also just streaming down on this northwestern flow into eastern Kentucky. You also have some higher vorticity with this trough that's off of New England at the time. Okay, so that's what's going on right now, 18,000 feet. And of course you have that trough again, which has that colder air that's going to dump down from Canada. That's going to help keep your precipitation more of a frozen snow, not a rain. Now 850 millibars, what we use this chart for is to analyze for temperature patterns and changes. All right, so the purples and the reds here are very cold air. You'll notice that we're on the edge. Southeast Virginia is on the edge of the coldest air, and that edge goes all the way back into northern Illinois, Minnesota, northern plains. And this little Alberta Clipper is going to form in Alberta, Canada over here, and it's basically going to move southeast, following basically the jet stream here will be the steering winds. We'll be pushing this system southeast towards North Carolina, towards the Mid-Atlantic area, and the low pressure system is going to ride along that tighter temperature gradient. All right, it's going to move right along this edge of the coldest air down towards North Carolina, and then eventually the low pressure would move offshore. But to the north of that low pressure system, we have enough cold air in place to give Southeast Virginia a snowstorm from one of these Alberta Clippers. The surface chart and thickness chart, here's an area of surface low pressure. This is the Alberta Clipper here. It had formed earlier in the time period up here in Alberta, Canada. It has moved southeast. It's 1,005 millibar low over eastern Nebraska. And it's going to continue to basically move right parallel along the leading edge again, the very edge of the coldest air mass. Okay, so it'll continue moving southeast. And as it moves southeast, sometimes these Alberta Clippers become loaded with pretty good moisture because the southerly winds out ahead of these low pressure systems come from the Gulf of Mexico, which is a great source of moisture, which adds to higher snowfall total swaths along the storm's path. So we have to watch this stuff carefully because they can They can go from weak or low pressure Alberta Clippers, and once they get offshore, or even as they get involved with more moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, they can actually intensify, and we could get a 3 to 6 inch swath of snow here in Southeast Virginia. All right, here's an actual surface analysis with an infrared satellite picture overlaid on top of it. At this time, you see the low pressure system, generally, like I said, around Nebraska into northern Missouri, southern Iowa. This green area is actually not rain. It's just showing you where there's moisture falling, where there's precip falling. For example, at this point in time, Chicago had light snow and a temperature of 29 degrees. So anywhere you see this green, that's associated with this Alberta Clipper, this low pressure system. All right, and it'll continue to move southeast and just south of our area into North Carolina and then off the coast with time. This area of moisture will continue to move with it. And then looking at the 5,000 foot to 18,000 foot relative humidity, you end up having a lot of moisture with these little systems. They pack quite a punch, actually. These lighter blue areas indicate higher relative humidities, 80 to 90%, which means a lot more moisture. So you have some type of precip falling as this moisture axis will shift southeast towards our area. And then an actual infrared satellite picture, just that alone, shows where the cloudiness is, the enhanced cloudiness, cooling cloud tops, which indicate that you have clouds that are precipitating or producing some kind of precipitation. This all is going to move basically to the southeast towards Southeast Virginia. And then the radar shows you where the snow's at. So you have snow over northern Illinois, down into eastern Kentucky, and this axis will continue to shift basically all the way down towards Southeast Virginia. All right, so that wraps up my quick little down and dirty on what type of systems we generally get here in Virginia. These type of clipper systems from the northern, basically I call it from a northern stream, or the northern branch of this jet stream here. All right, they come down again from Alberta. They form the Alberta Canada, the Alberta province in Canada, and they slide southeast, and they tend to follow the leading edge of the coldest air mass, which usually extends all the way down to North Carolina. So they tend to come into North Carolina and move off the coast. These are quite common actually in February, and typically in Southeast Virginia, what they mean for us is they will produce usually a 2 to 4 inch or even a 3 to 6 inch little track of snow, a little swath of snow, because what will happen is the low pressure will come from Canada into the Midwest, drop snow there, and then continue to move southeast off North Carolina coast and drop snow over our area here in Southeast Virginia. So it's something to keep an eye on as we get in towards, we're approaching mid-January now. As we get closer to February, it's a very distinct possibility we might see one of these systems. We typically see 1 to 2 of these type of systems in February on average each year, and they produce quite a bit of our seasonal snowfall. The more intense systems will form over the Gulf of Mexico like we had this past weekend. They really involve a lot of Gulf moisture on their front side, and they generally form the Gulf. These low pressure storm systems go across Florida and come up the coast, and that's usually when, if it's close enough to the coast, you'll get a good little swath of snow. Richmond, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston, New York City. Some of the bigger cities in the Northeast will get hit harder with those type of systems. But we also can get that type with that type of track like we did last weekend. We can get some good snows in here as well if we have cold air coming in from the north to keep most of the moisture in the form of solid precip. All right, that wraps up this quick little lesson. I just wanted to share some charts and generally our February snowmakers, what they generally look like, where they come from. Google Alberta Clipper and you'll learn some more. We're all about sharing knowledge and information about the weather, and we hope that you will take the time to further research it yourself to find out what it's about. And that's all I've got for now, and we'll be keeping our eye on the weather. It's going to be, again, very mild next week, as just discussed in the long range. And beyond the 25th of January, going to be turning much colder with another winter storm possible sometime between 27 and 30 January. All right, that's all I've got for now. This is Spot On Weather. Remember, if we're not spot on, we're not doing it right. Have a great evening, everyone.